Hello everybody, this is Jesse from NAPCO Tech Support. And in this video, we're going to go over how to add a wireless gateway, wireless expanders, and a few wireless locks into your MVP system. The two types of gateways that can be used on MVP are an MVP gateway that comes preloaded with the MVP cloud firmware in it, and also we can use an alarm lock generation 3 gateway, but that will require the firmware to be updated before it will talk to MVP, the cloud platform. So that was either going to be an MVP IM3 802.11 or MVP IM3 PoE with the preloaded cloud firmware, or a alarm lock ALIM3 802.11 or ALIM3 PoE. If you have a system with older generation 1 or 2 gateways, those are going to have to be replaced with one of the mentioned gateways. Now, to add in a gateway, we're going to go to Configuration COM ports. We're going to click Add. We can give it a name if you're using multiple gateways. We suggest that you name it the location or floor where the gateway is. We're just going to call this gateway number 1 because we're only going to have one in this video. Make sure we change the type from panel controller to wireless gateway. If you forget, you will have to delete this COM port and then relearn it and make sure that we pick wireless gateway. Now we're going to type in the MAC address of the gateway and then make sure that we pick the time zone where the gateway is going to be located, so it loads the proper time into the wireless locks or net panels. Once everything is correct, we can press Save and Write Config. If you have multiple gateways, you would just continue this process with each gateway. And then if the cloud firmware is updated in the alarm lock gateway, or we have one of the MVP ones and it's connected to the internet, we'll see the command status start talking and configuring the gateway for MVP. Then we can go into wireless configuration, and we're going to wait for the status to show ready before we start learning in locks. This may take a minute, where you may need to refresh the page or go in and out of the wireless configuration section. Okay, now everything has been loaded into the gateway. The status shows ready. It's now time to learn in expanders. Before we do this, I want to point everybody to the help file for MVP in the wireless placement tips for gateways and expanders. We want everything to be in the good range that's fully acceptable. That's going to be any signal strength above 42. While fair may work, that's between 32 and 42, there may be some signal loss and there could be performance issues. So we highly recommend that all locks are in the good or excellent range. When you start discovering the lock, if they're not in that range, before we add them, then would be the time to relocate the gateway and or expanders, or maybe add additional expanders. Because if locks are learned in, they may need to be deleted and completely defaulted and reprogrammed if we have to add expanders later on the line. And there also is this chart when we learn it in to help us know if it's a good or excellent signal. Also, please take some time to read the gateway location tips about the distance radius from the locks, mounting areas, distance between gateways, different building material that can reduce signal strength, and also know that Architect series may have a shorter range from the gateway or expander, so you may need a few more if you're looking to put those in. Now we're back to wireless configuration in order to add expanders, and we're just going to use the standard alarm lock expanders. They will be connected, and then the MVP firmware will be loaded into them. So just simply click on expanders and click search. The system is going to go out now and search for any expanders that are in the system. And as you can see, it did find an expander. It's now going to load the firmware into the expander or expanders if you had multiple. Okay, now it discovered the one expander I have set up for this video. It's ready to go. Also, please note the signal strength for this. We want those, again, to be in the good range, at least 42. If it's not, at this time, suggest would be relocating the expander maybe closer to the gateway, or we may need to add an additional expander in between, possibly default the one we learned in, and relearn if we had to add another expander so they take the proper route from the gateway with the best signal strength. Now we can click close, and now we're ready to start learning into the locks. One other thing to point out, especially if you have multiple gateways, each gateway will need a unique group number on the dials on the back of it, and the expanders will need the same. If that's not done, you would have to again dial the gateway to a unique expander number if we had multiple, and then do a reset on the gateway by holding down the reset button on the back until the yellow and red LED come on. But now that we have our gateway learned in, we have our expander, we have acceptable signal strength, it's now time to learn in locks. So now we're going to go down here, and we're going to click on Discover Locks. You can pick however many locks you're going to be connecting this gateway and that are powered up and has gone through the default process as described in the manual. I'm just going to pick a lot in this because in NAPCO we have quite a few to make sure we pick up the ones we're looking to learn in the system. We'll click on Discover Locks, and it's going to go out and search for all the available locks. Okay, now it will come up with every lock that it learned. We need to just go through and find the ones we want to learn in for this particular video demonstration. Okay, so the first one we're going to learn in will be this 6200. We're going to check it off. If you are doing multiple locks and/or net panels, do not check off and try to do multiple at one time. We want to do each lock individually at one time because it's going to have to load in the MVP firmware and then a data download. I will show you when we do the next lock how to add a second one without having to do the discovery process every time. So now that we have our first lock, we can actually give the lock/panel a name. This will be learned in as a panel and a lock. So now we have the lock we're going to learn in. We have given it a name. We can click on Add Lock, and now it's going to download the MVP firmware into the lock or net panel and then do a data download. It's automatically going to load the all access group into every new lock discovered. Okay, so now that we learned that one in, we can go and get ready to do our second lock. As you can see, the command status bar is now doing the data download. So we want to wait for that to be done before we pick our second lock or net panel. You can see we just go to that, check it off. And then once we're ready, we click Add Lock and we'll learn that one in. As you can see, it's a fairly quick process to learn them in one at a time. And again, you can see you can just go down the list. You don't have to rediscover. If you try to check off more than one box and learn in 2 or 3 locks at one time, more than likely that will fail and that will actually take more time. You'll have to default the locks or net panel, remove them, and then go ahead and rediscover them. You see that one has been learned in. It's now doing the data download. And if we needed to add a third lock, we can do that fairly quickly too. And again, just to point out, like we talked about in the help section, the signal strength is excellent. And it will also show you if it's either going to be connected to a gateway or the expander that we learned in, what's going to actually be talking to the lock or net panel. Now the third lock is being added in. And that data download is being done. As you can see, we have our 3 locks and net panels loaded in. Good signal strength. They're showing a C above before the product name. That means it has the MVP firmware. If it's a wireless lock, it will give you the battery volt. The last thing I want to show you is, even though we did give it a name and it's showing up in the locks and panel section under configuration as correct, because MVP can have multiple configurations of wireless locks and multiple door access panels, we would still want to go to configuration readers, and then you can give the reader the same, in this case it would be the same name as we gave it when we learned it in. Also too, we go to door control. If you're going to be using the keypad on the wireless lock, or it's a keypad lock only, we need to go in, click enable keypad, and leave the common code schedule as 24/7 so the keypad portion always works. And then we can hit save, and it will save that information into the lock, and we can just continue with all of the other ones that we learned into the system. Now, just to review, we went over how to add a wireless gateway under COM ports, how to add an expander under wireless configuration, and add in wireless locks and do a basic setup under the reader section. As always, for more information, you can visit on the web at tech.napcosecurity.com. Thank you all for watching.